Good evening. I would like to call to order Licensing Board. We have two items on the agenda. Item number one, the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting September 8, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second, any corrections, deletions? There are none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number two, new amusement device license 2526. Everything's okay? Yes. Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Being no further business before the licensing board, I adjourn. Good evening. I would like to call the Board of Public Works. We have four items on the agenda. Item number one, approval of minutes from the regular meeting September 8, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Burkus and Alderwoman Seitzer. Any corrections or deletions? There are none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number two and three, I am going to switch. Item number three, we'll do water supply service area plan. Good evening, Travis.
In June of 2024, the Wisconsin DNR mandated that all public water systems serving a population of 10,000 people or more operating their own wells prepare a water supply service area plan. In response to that requirement, Stratton Associates has recently completed a water supply service plan for our water utility. The primary goal of this plan is to evaluate whether our municipal water system can continue to reliably meet the water needs of both our current customers and future growth. To better help understand this planning and its findings, I've invited Steve Kleeser from Stratton Associates to walk us through the key elements of the report this evening. Steve?
Thank you, Travis. So we did have some technical difficulties, so hopefully everybody can follow along on your agenda packet as we kind of go through this. But as Travis said, State Admin Code NR 854 describes water supply service area plans and their requirements. And the purpose of that code is to establish some procedures and requirements for public water supply systems to follow to ensure the system can provide adequate supply of water to their customers. This specific code requirement applies to all public water systems serving over 10,000 people and that operate their own wells or surface water intake. So it's a requirement that has to be done. The water supply service area plans are due at the end of this year, and so we're ahead of the game here a little bit with the public hearing. And the water supply service area plans need to be developed. However, they only need to be submitted to the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources if a community wants to take an additional withdrawal from the Great Lakes Basin. So since West Bend is in the Great Lakes Basin, if in the future you need additional capacity beyond what your current withdrawal amounts are, you'd have to submit this water supply service area plan to the DNR. So some key elements that are included in the water supply service area plan will include information about your existing water sources, population projections, and future water demands. It'll be an inventory of your sources and quantities of your current water supplies. It'll be identification of different water supply options, just in case that is needed in the future. It needs to include a delineation of the area to which the public water system may provide water in the future. And then, if applicable, it includes an assessment of the environmental impacts of carrying out any significant recommendations from the plan. It wants to make sure that the analysis of the water supply service area plan aligns with existing comprehensive plans that the city may have developed or that the Southeast region has developed, and any other wastewater facility plans, so they want to make sure that those align. And then finally, it wants to give an opportunity for the public to provide comment on the proposed water supply service area plan, and that's why we're here this evening. So, kind of give an overview of the water system. There's a water system schematic that displays displays the flow of water throughout the system. West Bend consists of 3 pressure zones, east, central, and west. The east zone and the central zone have all of your sources of supply. The west zone has a single storage tank, and it is served through a booster station from the central zone, but it doesn't have any of its own well supply. Going to the next slide, which explains the existing supply and storage capacities. Currently, the city of West Bend has 9 wells with a total capacity of 7,210 gallons per minute. The firm well capacity, which is the capacity with your largest well out of service, is 5,610 gallons per minute. And that's the important number that we want to evaluate to make sure that that is equal to or greater than your maximum day demands. The other 2 tables kind of go into your storage facilities. The top one goes through your elevated storage. You do have 3 elevated water tanks and then 2 standpipes that serve each of the various zones. There's quite a large amount of capacity. There's about 3,200 gallons per minute, or 3,200 gallons of storage available and elevated. And then you also have 3 ground storage reservoirs. You got the air stripping reservoir, but then you also have, I guess it's one other reservoir that's split into 2 compartments, the Silverbrook Reservoir 1 and 2, which provides an additional 620 gallons of storage to your system. So one of the other elements of the water supply service area plan is to identify existing and future service areas. So we developed a figure that has depicted this future service area on it. This future service area is not set in stone. The only thing that the code wants you to accomplish is that you have an understanding of where you may serve in the future so that you have a good pathway on how you're gonna serve it with water. So this is not set in stone, the service area that's shown, but it gives you an idea of where you may grow to into the future. Now dive in a little bit into water usage. We have a slide that shows the per capita sales by category, and it shows that the trends of these water use over the last 10 years have been very stable for all the different categories. So we show residential, commercial, industrial, multifamily, and public use. And over the last 10 years, each of these different categories have remained stable in water use, which is a good indication that your additional water use in the future will be by growth, not by existing customers using more water. Another aspect of the water supply service area plan is to evaluate population and population growth. So we have a figure developed that kind of shows population projections resulting in both a high and low water use projection. So on the figure, we have some historic census data. There's also some historic Wisconsin Department of Administration estimates. But the high growth end of the population projections come from the Southeastern Wisconsin Planning Commission, or SWMP. They show some significant growth in population as they developed their projections in the past. The Wisconsin Department of Administration also had developed some population projections in the past that aligned with the city's original comprehensive plan from 2017, which kind of showed more of a moderate growth to population for the community. And more recently, the Wisconsin Department of Administration has developed population estimates for the future that essentially show either a no growth or low growth or no growth scenario to the city of West Bend. So that kind of develops 3 different growth patterns that can be evaluated to make sure that the water supply can serve the needs based off of these high and low demand projections. So as we go through the presentation a little bit further, we're gonna be looking at the high growth scenarios, and you'll kind of get an idea of why we're just looking at the high growth right now with this presentation. But current and future high growth demand projection provides for conservative planning. So we do have a table that shows what your current day, maximum day demands, average day demands are, and also projected out to 2035. So the 2035 maximum day demand is looking to be just under 5,000 gallons per minute. And if you recall from the earlier slides, the firm well capacity for the city of West Bend is 5,610 gallons per minute. So there is a reserve and well capacity of approximately 643 gallons per minute for the future demand condition of 2035 under a high growth scenario. So you're well positioned in your sources of supply for your community. Additional capacity analysis that looks at storage also identifies a surplus. So we do have a figure showing how water use happens throughout the day in the city of West Bend. On that figure is our firm well capacity at 5,610 gallons per minute. Also on that chart is your maximum day demand in 2035. And as you can see, the firm well supply capacity is greater than the maximum day demand, which means adequate source of supply. And then the peaks of water use that goes above the firm capacity needs to come from storage to meet domestic demand. But then in addition to meeting the domestic demand peak usage, there also is a fire demand condition. And the city of West Bend has identified a goal of 3,500 gallons per minute for 3 hours as their fire protection goals. So if you take all this information, plug it into our equation that talks about max day, your firm well capacity, your fire demand, and then the storage that's available to help fight that fire, it shows that you have about 2,250,000 gallons of storage reserve based off of your fire demand condition on a future maximum day. So that shows you have adequate and reserve storage capacity as well moving into the future, and that's all under the high growth scenario. So on the next slide, we talk about water source alternatives. This is again another requirement of the water supply service area plan is to identify what alternatives there can be for the community in order for them to provide source water. So 3 alternatives were identified that makes the most sense. It includes deep wells, shallow wells, and then getting water from Lake Michigan. Now, the city of West Bend currently has 2 existing deep wells and 7 existing shallow wells, so they're already using that source of supply, and that's been serving the community well for quite some time. The Lake Michigan alternative can certainly be a reliable source of water. There's a lot of communities that are getting Lake Michigan water, but it does require a higher level of treatment on the source side of things. And then it can be very challenging to implement, especially in a community like West Bend where you have a distributed well supply, which has certain entry points throughout the system. And so once you start bringing in maybe a single source line, getting that distributed in the right places to be specific for your community and how the distribution system works can bring on challenges and some additional cost related to it. So overall, bottom line is that your existing groundwater sources are currently the best alternatives at this time and out into the future of at least 2035. And I would imagine it would be even much further than that because again, we're looking at the high growth scenario. So finally, in summary, just to kind of summarize what we talked about, West Bend has a well supply surplus of 643 gallons per minute in the year 2035 under the high growth demand projections. There's a water storage surplus of 2.27 million gallons in the year 2035 under the high growth demand projections. There's been 2 newer facilities that have been constructed that are serving existing sources of supply that you have. Well number 5 facility is a new facility that allows the existing well to be used and provide reliable service into your future. The new granular activated carbon facility that's serving wells 4, 11, and 12 is nearly complete. It's gonna actually go online hopefully next week. And that's gonna continue to provide safe and reliable water. And it's gonna maintain those three existing sources, in which one of them is a very high capacity well. And then there's gonna be no significant changes to source water anticipated. And so the city of West Bend is well positioned into the future with their water system. One thing I did wanna point out is while this water supply service area plan does provide some good information on the source capacity and what your projected demands might be, it doesn't get into the details of a normal water system plan that looks through your whole distribution system, looks at each of your facilities as far as conditions are concerned, and also looks into these growth projections in a little bit more detail moving forward. So the city of West Bend does plan on, the West Bend Water Utility does plan on doing a more detailed water system plan here in the near future, and having that align with an updated city comprehensive plan, such that we are making sure we're looking at the different projections equally and in the same way as the rest of the city departments do. And then that'll also allow us to look at overall system operational performance and maintenance needs. So while it doesn't replace that, it certainly is an added component that can be used towards that more detailed master plan. So with that said, that's summarizes the water supply service area plan, and I'm happy to take any questions that anybody might have.
Okay, anyone have a question for Steve or Travis? Yes, Alderman Schmidt.
So can you be more specific about when we would need a water system plan, master plan?
Yeah, so actually talking with Travis, I think they are budgeting for it to happen next year. Is that correct? The updated, the more detailed water system plan? So next year, Travis has it budgeted to do that more detailed analysis. You know, this water supply service area plan came about, and with the deadline of December 31st, it didn't offer the opportunity to do that and the bigger system plan at the same time. So taking care of this portion of it now was the direction that was taken, but this information is gonna be very valuable and useful towards the more detailed plan that I think is scheduled for next year.
Kind of where I was going with that. So we can use this information to put the master plan together.
Correct.
We're not reinventing the wheel.
Exactly. A lot of this information is valuable and will be included in that detailed plan.
Is there anyone else that have questions? Okay, just a question for Travis. Travis, this plan here that's put together by the water department, is this something that the water department decided on, or is this something that the DNR has requested to be done?
Well, this plan was ultimately driven by DNR, so it was something we had to do either way. So
Okay.
let's say DNR is a driven factor for the DNR.
Okay,
person.
all right, thank you. Anyone else have any questions?
This probably outside the scope of this work, but is there a map with all the detailed components as far as where the wells are and the towers and all that kind of stuff?
Yes, that wasn't specifically developed as part of this plan. We were just trying to meet the code requirements, but the detailed future plan will definitely have a full map that'll show all the distribution system and the sizes of those mains, and it'll have all of the different storage facilities, pumping facilities, wells, all located on it in a single figure.
So does one exist now, Travis? Or?
Yeah, we have a master plan that's easily 10+ years old. And so it's something that needs to be updated, and that's basically what's gonna happen.
Is that part of the county GIS? I know at one point it was all on GIS. Is that still the case? You had waterworks or something like that you use for the?
Yeah, it's, I don't know if it's specifically on the GIS in the county. It's something we don't really wanna make public. I would have to look. I know there was some maybe on some certain layers that we can see, but I don't know if general public can. Yeah.
And your concern there would be security?
Yeah, absolutely. The risk and resilience of our system, yep.
Yes, Rhett, Alderman Ellington.
I apologize if this is outside the scope of this study, but maybe this is also a question about the future study. But is there a consideration of disasters, such as drought or any kind of impact to the water supply that would, if you're doing 10-year projections, who knows what happens over the 10 years, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. So actually, 5 years ago, it was a requirement from the Environmental Protection Agency that each community do a risk and resilience assessment and an emergency response plan. So that was completed 5 years ago, which kind of looks at some of the things that you're talking about. Happenstance, this next coming year is the 5-year anniversary in which an update needs to happen. And so the water utility will have to go through the process of updating those documents. Now, there hasn't been any significant changes besides the new well 5 facility and the new granular activated carbon facility. So those will have to get added into the analysis. But yes, to answer your question, the risk and resilience assessment and ERP address that.
And that's driven by EPA?
That's driven by EPA, correct.
All right, are there any other questions? There are none. Thank you very much, Steve. Great presentation. And Travis, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item number 2 now, public hearing. Because this is a public hearing, is there anyone that would like to address the council here tonight? Now is your opportunity to step forward. Please state your name and address. Yes, good evening.
Evening, council members. I'm Rob Bars with Mr. Car Wash. Address is 723 South Oaks Drive in Minnesota. Just wanted to take an opportunity to introduce myself. Appreciate the opportunity to be here before you this evening for our item and available for any questions that you may have for us.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? There is no one else. All right, do I have a motion?
Motion to close the public hearing.
All right, Alderman Sternig,
Second.
Alderman Schmidt for second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, item number 4, Stormwater Maintenance Agreement, SWMP, W24-05, Creek Edge Phase 1. Good evening, Max.
Good evening, thank you. Tonight I come to you with one of those stormwater maintenance agreements, which is typical when the city issues a stormwater management permit to a new development or redevelopment. We do those in order to stay in compliance with our DNR-issued MS4 permit. These type of agreements are made to ensure that stormwater management facilities are properly built, installed on properties and will be maintained by the property owner so they can function as intended in the future. This one is for a proposed subdivision for 11 single-family lots and then 1 outlot that has the stormwater management facilities. This is located, it's the extension of Daisy Drive as Daisy Place on the east side of Creek Road. And so the outlet has the stormwater management wet pond, and then there's drainage ditch along the south of the property lines to direct the runoff to the pond. The proposed design follows Chapter 23 of the Municipal Code and Chapter NR 151 of Wisconsin Legislature. So we present the agreement and we recommend the board and council approve it.
Do you have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, Alderman Zingsine, and who was second? Alderman Sternig. Are there any questions for Max? Yes, Alderman Sparks.
This plan takes care of the water collection down at the east end of the property with the wet pond and that. Is that gonna keep that off of the Creek Drive residents? Will that help them out? I mean, with the swales and all that?
So what it's doing is that it's collecting all the water from those properties in the development and directing it to the east, which was the original natural drainage pattern of that water going to the east. and then the water is collecting there in the pond in order to do some quantity and quality management control of the water and releasing it at the same rate or lower than it was prior to development. The properties that you were asking about, are you talking about already developed property or the properties along the new road?
Yeah, when this was coming through planning and the original approvals, there was a lot of consternation regarding, from the residents on Creek Road, like it's the lot 3-2 on the east end there, that there was water coming off the property because that's so low back there, that when it rains, that the back ends of their lots were really taking a lot of water there. And I'm just wondering if that's gonna maybe help resolve some of those issues. I'm hoping it does.
Probably because of that swale that's along the south end of those lots is going to collect the water from the property in the new development, is going to intercept it and direct it to the pond to the east.
Perfect.
Any other questions for Max? There are none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Very well. Thank you very much, Max. Being no further business before the Board of Public Works, I adjourn as chair.
I call to order a meeting of the Finance Committee. We have 3 agenda items this evening. The first is the approval of minutes from our regular meeting, September 8th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Alderman Zingsheim and Alderman Schmidt. Any corrections, additions, deletions? There being none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Our second item this evening is Resolution Number 32, authorizing the sale and the appropriation of funds of Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Department surplus equipment. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, and good evening. Recently, our department sold at auction a 25-year-old lawnmower for $7,050. This evening, we are requesting to transfer these auction sales funds to an operating account to help offset some repair costs for an existing utility vehicle. This utility vehicle is requiring an estimated repair cost of $10,000. Basically, the transmission went out on this machine. We have to farm out the repairs to it. They gotta basically take the cab off, split the machine apart, things like that. This is estimated to be a $10,000 repair cost, something we did not anticipate in our operating budget, so we are asking this evening to utilize those auction funds to help offset some of those repair costs. Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Thank you, Alderman Butchlick and Alderwoman Sizer. Any questions for Mike on this topic? All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Our third item, Resolution Number 33 for Urban Forestry Grant.
Thank you. This evening, our department is requesting approval of Resolution 33 Urban Forestry Grant. This resolution will support the application process for a Department of Natural Resources Urban Forestry Grant. This is a 50-50 cost-sharing grant. We would utilize operating funds to offset the city's 50% cost sharing. The objective of the grant is to develop a comprehensive forestry master plan for the city of West Bend, support our tree planting program, and continued staff education. So we basically have 3 components to this grant application. The first objective would be to update our current urban forestry master plan. Our goal is to go out for an RFP to hire a consultant to review the current master plan operational procedures, review our current street tree inventory and density, review current staffing levels and budgets, and current challenges facing urban forestry management. The consultant will provide us with recommendations to update our urban forestry master plan, review current challenges facing urban forestry management, and provide comparables with similar-sized communities relating to operations, density, urban canopy, things of that nature. The other components in this grant would include support for our annual street tree and planting programs and to help offset staff continued education. Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Alderman Zingsheim and Alderwoman Sizer. Any questions for Mike on this topic?
So $25,000 for the grant, and then we have to match it.
Correct.
Okay.
And as we look forward then to 2026, which I'm assuming that's when this would come into play.
Yep.
That 25,000 is something that you are building into the department's budget.
Yep, that would be part of our standard operating plan. So I'll use the continued education, for example. We already have that money budgeted, but if the DNR, if we're able to secure this grant funds, the DNR's money would actually offset some of those costs.
Okay. Great, thank you. Any other questions? There being none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much, Mike.
Thank you.
There being no further business before the Finance Committee, I adjourn as chair.
Good evening. It is Monday, September 22nd, 6:55 PM. This is a meeting of the Common Council of the City of West Bend, more than 24 hours in advance of this meeting notice that the time, place, date, subject matter of the meeting was posted in accordance to the Wisconsin State Statute. I would like to ask the clerk to confirm that this meeting was properly posted.
Yes, it was.
Oh, thank you very much. All right, everybody, please stand if you can and pledge allegiance. We do recognize a quorum of our council tonight. I am the council president, Alderman Butchlick, and will be presiding over the meeting. Mayor Ongart had a work commitment out of town this evening. We have 15 items on the agenda. Item number 1, approval of minutes of the special meeting, August 18, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Alderman Zingsine,
Second.
Alderman Schmidt. Any corrections, deletions? There are none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 2, approval of minutes of the Common Council from the regular meeting, September 8th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Alderman Schmidt? Second. Alderwoman Seitzer? Any corrections or deletions? There are none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Consent agenda, items 3 through 7. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Zingsine? Alderman Sparks? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Agenda items for consideration. Item number 8, City of West Bend taxi request for proposal 2026 to 2030. Good evening, Doug.
Are we getting his mic? I don't think so.
I don't think it's mic'd on.
Now you are.
There you go.
Gotta get a little closer. There you go. So the next 3 items are all kind of related, so I'll kind of summarize them all together. And since we have quite a few new faces on the council here since we've had to do this, I'll kind of start by summarizing our city's taxi service. So the city provides a taxi service through a contracted service provider since 1992. We currently have 14 taxis, 7 of which are ADA compliant and 7 of which are vans. We purchase and we own these vehicles, but lease them to the service provider, which is currently Go Right Way. We provide curb-to-curb drop-off service with approximate 30-minute response time goal. Service operates 7 days a week at various hours, totaling about over 37,000 hours annually. All rides are managed and dispatched by our service provider. Annual ridership ranges from 60,000 to 80,000 rides a year. Years ago, it did exceed 100,000 rides a year. So ridership fares range from $4.50 to $5.50 per ride. That's a one-way ride. So if somebody takes a ride somewhere, that's one ride, they get a ride back, that's 2 rides. So our last fare increase was in 2023 of $1 per fare, and prior to that was 2017 at 50 cents per ride. The current taxi service costs approximately $1.5 million a year to operate. However, grant funding covers 53%, the remainder of the cost covered through ridership fares and any shortfall paid by what we'll call tonight the local share, or basically the city's tax levy. So all aspects of the municipal taxi service are regulated by the Federal Transit Administration. The contracts for this service are kind of unique. Municipalities obtain a 5-year agreement. It's not necessarily a contract, but an agreement for 5 years based on an annual contract renewal. Kind of like a contract within a contract. In these 5-year agreements, the annual contract increases are based on the consumer price index determined in August of each year. This is a FTA regulation. It's something that's not negotiable. At the end of this year, our current 5-year agreement expires with Go Right Way. So this being the situation, under the FTA specific guidelines, staff administered the RFP process for the next 5-year agreement back in July. Expecting a significant increase in new service agreement for the next 5 years, back in June, staff held a meeting with the finance chair, Alderman Sternick, Mayor Ungart, city financial team, and at the time, Chief Daring as our administrator. Just to bring them into the conversation on this expected increase in the next 5-year contract or agreement. So historically, the city has been fairly budget neutral, meaning grant funding, ridership fares, and creative revenue has covered the cost of the service. That's just not the case anymore. Increased contract costs, ridership trends are driving the local share up significantly. So based on our calculation for the 2026 taxi service, we expect a local share or levy cost to be around $362,000. This is why we wanted to bring the details to council, because it's really a policy decision as to providing the service and at what cost to the taxpayers you feel comfortable. After the meeting we had in June, we continued to move forward with the RFP process so we could bring the accurate costs to the council for approval. So following the FTA RFP process, we received 3 proposals for the service. Under the very specific guidelines from FTA, we created a review committee that scored the proposals. At this first review, we did not know the costs. The costs were not open. They were sealed until we scored the providers themselves. Once we scored the providers, then we opened the cost proposals from each one of them and then scored them accordingly. The packet you received indicates the results of the scoring and the cost presented. So kind of a quick summary, our hourly costs with running incorporated will increase our current costs from $35.15 an hour, which we currently pay, to $39.73 per hour. We initially budgeted for $45 an hour, and you can see the other costs that came in from the other providers actually exceeded that. So our estimated local cost for 2026 is again this is estimated based on historical data, it's about $362,000. So based on the committee's vetting process and the council's interest to continue in taxi service in West Bend, staff would recommend awarding the 5-year agreement and the 2026 provider contract to Running Incorporated. So this is a lot to digest, so if you have questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Okay, I'll open it for questions for Doug. There are none. Go ahead, Alderman Schmidt.
What's driving this local portion of it? I mean, what's the big thing that's happening here?
Ridership trends historically have gone down. Now, the 5-year numbers that you received in your packet, I would say they're slightly misleading because when we had COVID dropped ridership a lot. Then you see a slight rise in it, and now we're kind of back on that historical trend of driving, the cost or the ridership down. And funding is also an issue. This year proved to be quite the challenge because we were unaware of our funding until very recently. There's a lot of state and funding changes going on with the governor and we were unaware, we were supposed to switch between state funding and federal funding. So I would say, in my opinion, we had the best case scenario happen for what we were prepared for.
Alderman Sternig.
Yeah, in that best case scenario, Doug, what ended up being the final local, or what will be the final local share for 2025? Taking into account that the outside funding.
Let's see, I had that number. 250? Oh? I think it's, yeah. I mean, right now, we're still estimating because of ridership. I
Yep.
mean, there's so much historical estimation when preparing these budgets, because we didn't even know like I said before, we didn't know our grant funding until just recently for this year. So, based on what we met about a couple of months ago, this was about the best case scenario that we could, other than driving ridership up would be a better case scenario, but
That's almost 100% increase. Am I calculating that correctly in my head?
yeah. So the last few years, well, since COVID, we had additional funding that was CARES Act money. We had a lot of other funding that we were able to dish out for a few years, so it helped reduce that local share a lot. It kind of absorbed that increase over the last few years, but that funding is used up, I guess it's gone. So. And we're not the only ones in this situation. I'm safe to say that all the similar municipal taxi services are in the same situation.
Alderman Anakin.
Yeah, I was just gonna, are there competitors in this market? I mean, I know there's one guy who does an Uber maybe in town. I mean, does the county run something
So
different?
the county has a shared ride taxi service as well. They receive the same type of grant funding that we receive, and part of the regulations for that is you cannot duplicate service. So for instance, they can't pick up, the city's taxis pick up in the city and drop off in the city. The county cannot pick up in the city and drop it off in the city. They can pick up in the city and take out of the city. So if they provide a similar service, then it's considered duplicate service, and that's regulated by the FDA.
So they're not competition, but, yeah.
No.
Do you have a feel for what other municipalities are doing with this kind of crisis? I would say this is pretty significant.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I wanted to make sure we had the conversation early, because, we've had, again, a fairly budget neutral taxi service here. Several years ago, it could be 7, 8 years ago, we wrote in our contracts that we own the taxis, we lease them to the provider, but the city has to provide the maintenance and the repairs for it. So the provider paid the city for the maintenance. So it was a little revenue generation. I don't know if you want to look at it fortunately or unfortunately, we've been able to replace our fleet and update our fleet pretty well. So the maintenance and repair costs are way down, which ultimately drove that revenue source down as well. But I am familiar with the county's taxi service, and they are in a similar situation, and their local share is much more than ours here at the city. And it has been for quite some time.
Doug, question I have, or does anyone else have any questions? I have a couple questions. One, if we go to Running Inc., do the employees for Right Way, would they be available to work for the new company that would be voted on tonight?
Well, that's a private industry question, but I will say that the information we have is Go Right Way wants to retain their employees for other operations.
Okay. Do
But
they-
that's the freelance, that's
Okay,
free
all
market.
right. And you answered my other question. You said the vehicle maintenance is still doing revenue or doing repairs to the vehicles?
Yes, yep.
Okay, and yeah, you answered the question. Because we do turnover varied reasonably, there isn't much repairs, that there isn't much revenue coming in through the vehicle maintenance. So, yeah, we're, we're between a rock and a hard place in this situation.
Correct.
Okay.
John, one other question.
Yes, Alderman Burkus.
Doug, I had a question with a new provider. I mean, we went through this a couple of times, right, where we had a provider that looked for a facility and, you know, Right Way obviously built their own facility on Lang Street, correct? And would this new provider then be looking for a place to, you know, house their operation or?
We did reach out to them once we got to this point, and they've indicated that they're, would move in and be local as well, look for a facility here as well.
Okay.
Okay.
The same as prior to Go Right Way, the provider was here within the city as well.
And just to make sure that we keep that in mind when, you know, we look for, or when we ask for them to provide a facility or provide where they're going. Because I know in the past, the Oak Brook building comes to mind that, you know, there were quite a few neighbor complaints with the operation there. You know, the vehicles in the back of the property lines, that, you know, there was residential right in the back of those areas. So, you know, there was quite a bit of concern from those. So if we have some sort of input into, you know,
I'm not sure, do they need a conditional use for something like that? I don't want to put them on a spot, but that's something that
Right.
we'll discuss here
but
with
it's
staff.
something that we could keep in mind and have discussions with that where they,
It would really depend on the zoning district. We would work with whoever, and try to find the appropriate district for them to
Okay.
do that.
I'm just thinking proactively based on past
And I
time.
was here when you were talking about the situation with, the Oak Brook Clinic.
Correct. Okay, thank you.
Alderman Sterling.
I do have one question, and this question is for Jesse. Obviously, we haven't gotten to the point of reviewing the 2026 budget yet, but as you've gone through the budget and are working with the various department heads and finalizing what that recommended budget is for 2026, how does that local share that Doug has brought up fit within the constraints or the confines of the budget that you are currently developing for the city?
Excellent question. I appreciate you asking. So yes, I was debriefed on this pretty quickly when we kicked off our budget meetings. That being said, I am looking to build that into the 26 budget as part of the consideration for the council. This will be, though, considering the trends, a future policy discussion for the council to have with regards to this particular taxi program and how we would look to fund it. But for 26, I will be looking to build it into the budget. Yep.
Thank you.
I will add just a few more comments, if you don't mind. We did start a conversation with the county about shared services. At this point, it's something that is not moving forward because of quite a difference in the level of service and the timing. The county is going through the exact same process we're going through right now. 5-year agreement situation, so their cost is much higher than our cost as far as their hourly rate. It's run a little bit different. They pay for fuel. There's all kinds of different situations there. But we did have that conversation. We had that conversation, I'm gonna look at Angela, probably 2017 or so. We had that conversation back then with the county executive at the time, and we were so far apart that it was kind of not something that was gonna work back at that time. And then, just to cover the 5-year agreement again, this is just a 5-year agreement. This is not a 5-year commitment. We can always go back out for RFP if we need to, but we come here for annual renewals. So, come this time next year, topic comes up, numbers come up, you can, it's again a policy decision. And we also, in the contract, have a 60-day out. So at any time, this can become a policy decision, for council as well. So you're not committing to 5 years by approving this tonight. We're approving the service, the 3 items are the service, and then it'd be the contract with the lease agreements, and then our grant funding. Those are the 3 topics tonight.
Doug, just to be clear, this $362,000 is annual.
That's for 2026.
Right. I mean, are there other, like private providers like Uber and Lyft that this seems like this is gonna keep right on going.
You are correct on that. The number's gonna continue to drive. There are other providers in the city that, provide, like Interfaith, the Threshold, they have their own vehicles, that provide service. So there are some within the city.
Where I'm going with that is, can we be more creative and maybe we don't need to provide this service? I mean, that's maybe a bold statement, but are there other alternatives that would fill the gap that are out there that we could encourage or we could, promote or, steer people towards or?
Jesse would like,
That is an excellent question. That's going a little bit afield of what we're talking about here this evening. That will have to be part of that policy discussion that we have as a follow-up, but that is an understandable and excellent train of thought. It's just not for this evening.
Good enough.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll add, Bill, that we've had some of those initial just discussions when we first met. When I say we, the mayor and I met with Doug and his team in finance, in recognizing that long-term, yes, this is something that we're gonna have to look at. I don't think within the city currently there is an alternate infrastructure that can meet the level of ridership at the level of service that we're currently providing. So there's a gap there that would need to be filled. And
we
not
haven't
one that
focused-
can be filled in a 20-minute discussion here this evening.
Sure.
But
And we
longer
haven't
term,
focused on that
agree.
aspect of it at all,
Yes.
so.
Yep, agree with that. And Doug, if I recall, you did have follow-up conversations even over the summer with the county and looking at, can we do something that works? And it was just, now is not the time to even try to look at doing these two things together because we were both working in parallel on similar types of contractual agreements that we were looking at over a 5-year term. Because there is the potential there for going to a single shared ride service. I think that would be something that would be complicated because the service that the county provides is very different than the service that the city provides in terms of the expectations for a half an hour call and a half an hour you can be picked up. Whereas the county, I believe it is a 24.
I think it's 24 hours.
24-hour notice type of a situation, so it's more planned. So just varying different levels of service that we provided, but longer term, yes, absolutely. From a budgetary standpoint, it is something we're going to have to look at and reconcile. And then it becomes part of a policy decision that we as a council will need to make.
Yeah, just as long as it's on the radar.
Yep.
all right, I don't believe we had a motion on this. So do we have a motion on this?
Are we taking all three together, or are we going one by one?
Let's, Ian, should we?
So item 8 is not an action item, that's just a summary of the proposals, so it would be, I mean, you could take 9 and 10 together if you want, or take 9 and then 10.
I'll make a motion to approve number 9 and 10, approving the services and lease and approving the shared ride taxi operation for 2026.
I'll second that.
Okay, Alderman Zingsine and Alderman Sterning. Are there any more questions? There are no questions. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much, Doug. Okay, item number 11. We have an ordinance number 14 to amend the existing plan unit development overlay district, ZPU-25-007, located at 920-980 West Paradise Drive, tax key number 119-234-0025 and 0026 by Mr. Carwash. Good evening, Jim.
Good evening. So on September 2nd, the Plan Commission held a public hearing for a zoning amendment for the Mr. Carwash and then the 2 parcels that were noted. These 2 parcels were within an existing plan unit development. Mr. Carwash is proposing a new development on the western side of the 2 developments there. And as part of this, the PUD had to be, or the plan unit development had to be amended to incorporate that new site plan that was approved, conditionally approved by the Plan Commission. So we're asking council tonight to endorse the ordinance to amend that PUD.
Do you have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Sternig?
Second.
Alderman Zingsine? Are there any questions for Jim? There are no questions. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Jim. Item number 12, resolution number 34, SV 25-002, preliminary resolution to vacate Campus Drive by the Department of Community Development, City of West Bend. Jim?
Good evening. So tonight we're asking the council to approve the preliminary resolution for the street vacation for Campus Drive. This is part of the initial notice for this vacation. We'll go through a public hearing process that we have, and we're asking the council to schedule for November 10th on 2025 at 6:30 council meeting to proceed with the street vacation. Letters of intent will also be sent out to the utility companies just to make sure that they have no vested interest in any utilities that are out in this right away. Preliminary looks that I have for this doesn't show any public utilities in this right away area. But as the motions, we'll go through that and send out notices for that. So tonight, we're just asking for the council to set that public hearing for November 10th.
Okay, do we have a motion? Alderman Sparts and Alderwoman Seitzer. Are there any questions for Jim? There are no questions. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Item number 13, discussion and possible action regarding TIF number 14, developers agreement. Jesse?
Yes, upon the request of the developer, they have asked for this item to be tabled to a future agenda. I'd request such action by the common council.
So moved.
Alderman Sternick, you first? Okay, and Alderwoman Seitzer. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 14, potential purchase sale agreement for tax parcels 291-1119-2630-119.
Thank you
Good
very
evening,
much.
John.
Just for clarification, the agenda does have an extra tax key number that is listed that ends in 1020. That was a Scrivener's error, so that should not have been on there. The purchase agreement does reflect the correct tax key. This evening, the request is for the sale of 4.82 acres in the West Bend Corporate Center along Continental Drive and Corporate Center Drive for sale. This property would be combined with surrounding properties adjacent to it for essentially a lot that would be about 26, 27 acres in total. This property is sort of at the dead end just south of Delta Defense, and it's currently vacant.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Sing sign and Alderman Schmidt. Okay, any questions for John? There are no questions. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, John. Item number 15, ordinance number 13 to annex approximately 159 acres of land from the town of Trenton to the city of West Bend, located on the east side of South River Road, between East Decorah Road and Sand Drive. Tax key number T11053-100A and T11053-100B. Evening, Jim.
Good evening. So we have an annexation request. The Plan Commission reviewed the request and recommended unanimously to the council for the approval of the annexation. This is 159 acres, basically at the northeast corner of South River Road and Sand Drive. And so we're asking the council today to consider the annexation. The lands would have temporary zoning for single family, RS4 single family, and then whatever wetland and other environmental delineations that we have out in that area.
Alderman Sparts?
Second.
Alderman Sternick? Any questions for Jim? There are no questions. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Jim. All right, moving on to item number 16, report by the library board. Mr. Berquist.
Why, thank you, John. You know, the last meeting of the library board was just last week, September 16th. You know, that's got to be one of the quickest turnarounds from meeting to report. But I got you guys covered, okay? So here we go. The easy part, call to order, pledge of allegiance, consent agenda. 5 years of practice makes it pretty predictable, right, Chief? Yeah. So we did that, and then we continued on with the financial reports, the usual 9 cents of interest on the checkbook. But hey, there was a pretty substantial grant from the Washington County Charitable Foundation for a multicultural Mother's Day celebration being planned for next year. On Mother's Day, imagine that, huh? Thank you to the foundation for assisting with that celebration. That's awesome. The library director briefed us on the flood repairs that are going on. Drywall this week, waiting for carpeting, but hey, the library continues to function. Remember, you have to use 6th Avenue entrance to get in the building, okay? The front doors are locked. You can't get in that way. Okay, so go to the 6th Avenue entrance. November is the Friends Group book sale, and I really like this one, okay? We have a staff member who's speaking at the upcoming WLA annual conference. Congratulations to Amber. The library board president, you're gonna like this one. The library board president advised us that the HVAC chiller component will be replaced in December. We laughed. You guys get it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Air conditioning in December. Hey, but seriously, if you read Jesse's note from Friday, right? Stuff's being taken care of, so that's the good news. Thanks, guys. Agenda items for consideration were, number 1, our Monarch Library System membership agreement. Number 2 is the updates to current budget negotiations and CIP items. And last but not least, there's a new vending machine in the library. Okay. Wow. Having no further business, we adjourned into closed session to discuss the library director's annual evaluation. Those are good times. The next meeting of the library board is scheduled for October 21st. And I'd just like to add, thinking of you, Whitey. Thank you, buddy. Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much, Brett. Item number 17, the administrator's report. Jesse?
That was a pretty robust report. I'm not sure if I can quite follow that up, but that said, pretty exciting ribbon cutting events coming up here on Wednesday and Thursday this week. We've got Loch Lorraine ribbon cutting on Wednesday and St. Vincent de Paul ribbon cutting on Thursday. We kind of touched on it a little bit earlier this evening with regards to upcoming budget. I am finalizing capital and operational budgets for presentation in October, so that will be published out to the council here coming up in fairly short order. That is my short report for this evening.
All right, thank you, Jesse. 18, all the persons. Does anyone have anything? Alderman Sparks?
I attended the We Energies ribbon cutting this week, was very nice. That was about it.
Okay. Alderman Schmidt?
Not my district, Rhett's district, but he was part of this, and some of you, I saw you there. We had that fundraiser for the 16th Avenue people, and some have some very sad stories, but it was nice to see the community come together throughout the entire city. And I want to give a shout out to Chris Thompson and Riley Hansen for organizing that and putting the hard work in to raise those funds.
Anyone else? There are none. The mayor, there will obviously no report from him today. He will have a next meeting, he will have twice as much to report. Being no further business before the common council, as president of the council, I adjourn.